Hey coin collectors, welcome to my channel BBC Rare Coins and Curious Minds. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most iconic coins in American pocket change, the Jefferson nickel. Let's start. Top 1. We dive into one of the most surprising and exciting stories in American coin history, starting with a Jefferson nickel from 1980 that turned out to be worth thousands, and ending with a $quarter that sold for an unbelievable $68,000. Most people wouldn't look twice at a 1980 Jefferson nickel. It's a coin millions have handled, tossed in change jars, or spent without a second thought. But sometimes, hidden among the ordinary, there's a coin that defies all expectations. That's exactly what happened when collectors uncovered one of the most valuable nickels of its era. A 1980 Jefferson nickel struck in error on a Susan B. Anthony dollar planchet. Now, let that sink in. A 5-cent coin, but struck on a blank mint for $1. The result? A coin that looks nothing like a regular nickel. It's bigger, it's silvery in color, it weighs more, and the details of Jefferson's portrait appear slightly off due to the incorrect planchet. But here's what really makes it valuable. It's a true minting anomaly, a mistake that should have never left the U.S. Mint. Only a few were ever found, making it one of the rarest Jefferson nickels known to exist from the 1980s. At auction, this era nickel has fetched over $15,000. Yes, $15,000 for a 5-cent coin, but that's just the beginning. Now we move to something even more shocking. A $quarter that looks like pocket change, but is worth more than most luxury cars. We're talking about one of the most expensive and rarest modern quarters ever recorded, selling for an incredible $68,000. This isn't an ancient coin, nor is it encrusted in gold or diamonds. It's a modern U.S. quarter, but with a twist. This particular coin featured a combination of rare minting errors that set it apart from anything else. First, it was struck through grease, meaning parts of the design were missing or faded, giving it an eerie, ghost-like appearance. But that alone wasn't enough. What made this coin truly extraordinary was that it was also struck on the wrong planchet. A blank intended for a different denomination entirely. So what you had was a coin with a wrong metal composition, missing design elements, a mint error that should have been caught, and somehow, it made it into circulation. A true one-in-a-million mistake. Add to that the fact that the coin was discovered in pristine condition, never circulated, with all of its wild errors still sharp and untouched, and suddenly, you have a coin that becomes a legend. Collectors lined up to bid, and the final hammer price shocked everyone. $68,000 for a quarter. These coins are not just metal. They're stories, history, and mystery all rolled into one. They're reminders that hidden value often lies in the overlooked and forgotten. A nickel worth $15,000 and a quarter worth $68,000. Both examples of how even the smallest pieces of change can carry enormous worth. The next time you get coins back from the cashier, don't just stuff them in your pocket. Take a moment. Look closely, because one mistake at the mint could become your unexpected fortune. And somewhere out there, another rare coin might be waiting, not in a museum, not in a vault, but in your hands. Top 2. Where today we uncover the hidden treasures of American coinage. Coins that look ordinary on the surface, but have stories and values that are absolutely extraordinary. We're talking about coins you've probably seen, spent, or even have sitting in your pocket right now, the Jefferson nickel and the U.S. $quarter. But not just any nickel or quarter. Today, we're zeroing in on one of the most mysterious and valuable coins in the Jefferson nickel series, the 1981 5-cent piece with a rare minting error. And then, we're jumping into the jaw-dropping world of an extremely rare U.S. quarter that sold for a staggering $65,000. Let's start with the 1981 Jefferson nickel. To most people, it's just another common coin from the early 80s, something you'd expect to find in spare change or tucked away in an old jar. But in the world of serious collectors, one particular 1981 Jefferson nickel stands out, not because of how it looks at first glance, but because of a rare and valuable error that transformed it into one of the most sought-after nickels of its time. In rare cases, a 1981 Jefferson nickel was struck on the wrong planchet, a blank intended for a different coin entirely. Imagine a 5-cent design pressed onto a 10-cent or even foreign coin planchet. creating a coin that feels lighter or heavier, appears off in color, and has misaligned or missing design elements. In the most famous case, one 1981 nickel was struck on a copper zinc cent planchet, giving it a reddish-golden tone and a thinner feel. Because of the difference in size and weight, the coin didn't strike properly, leaving off parts of the date, lettering, and even parts of Jefferson's face. These off-metal errors are incredibly rare, and only a few examples are confirmed to exist. Add to that the fact that this particular 1981 nickel error remained in excellent condition, uncirculated, and perfectly preserved, and you've got the recipe for a legendary coin. When collectors discovered its existence and authenticated the piece, it sparked massive interest. Eventually, this nickel, with a face value of 5 cents, commanded an auction price upwards of $20,000, solidifying its place among the most valuable nickels in American history. But we're not done yet. Not even close. Now let's turn to a US quarter dollar. Again, a coin we all handle regularly. But this one is different. This quarter made headlines not just for its uniqueness, but for its astonishing value. One particular rare quarter dollar, known among collectors for its script and minting error, sold for an incredible $65,000. So what made it so special? This quarter featured what experts call a dual error, a dramatic combination of a script error and a wrong planchet strike. The term script error refers to a partial or distorted inscription, a case where the mottos, such as "In God We Trust" or "E Pluribus Unum," were warped, missing, or oddly spaced due to a die malfunction. In this case, part of the lettering was actually doubled and shifted, creating a shadow-like effect. But the real showstopper was the planchet, the blank metal disc it was struck on. This quarter was mistakenly struck on a planchet not intended for a 25-cent coin. It was slightly smaller, had a different metal composition, and completely altered how the coin looked and felt. Because of these rare traits and the high-grade preservation of the coin, it was submitted to grading and certification services, where it received an extremely high grade, almost flawless. Only one example with this exact set of errors is known to exist. That made it a one-of-a-kind coin. When it finally hit the auction block, collectors battled for ownership, and the final sale price landed at $65,000. Imagine, a single quarter worth more than an entire year's salary for many people. These aren't just coins. They're historical accidents, rare survivors of a precise minting process that almost always runs perfectly. But when things go wrong, and a mistake slips through, it can turn pocket change into a fortune. The 1981 Jefferson nickel and the rare $65,000 quarter remind us that true treasure doesn't always glitter in gold or silver. Sometimes it hides in the most ordinary places, in drawers, old purses, or forgotten change jars. The next time you hold a nickel or quarter, take a second look. You never know what story that coin might hold. Top 3. Today's story is one for the record books. We're talking about two coins that look like everyday pocket change, but are anything but ordinary. First, a 1983 Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent coin with a face value so small, yet one specific example became one of the most valuable nickels ever seen. And second, a modern US quarter dollar with a strange script error that shocked collectors when it sold for a jaw-dropping $57,000. Let's start with the Jefferson nickel from 1983. At first glance, this coin looks like any other. Thomas Jefferson's familiar portrait on the obverse, Monticello on the reverse, and a standard copper-nickel composition. It's the kind of coin you'd expect to get as change from a vending machine. But in rare cases, the US Mint produces mistakes. Errors so dramatic and so rare that they become instant legends in the collecting world. And that's exactly what happened with one particular 1983 Jefferson nickel. This nickel wasn't just a simple die crack or a faded design. No, it was a full-blown off-metal mint error, meaning it was struck on a planchet mint for a completely different coin. In this case, the coin was struck on a foreign planchet, possibly intended for a coin used by a U.S. territory or an overseas contract. The result was a Jefferson nickel that had a golden tint, a lighter weight, and a slightly off-centered strike that made parts of the design look warped or incomplete. These kinds of errors are not only rare, but nearly impossible to fake, which is why, when one surfaced in almost uncirculated condition, it made serious waves in the numismatic community. Collectors rushed to examine the piece. It was certified authentic by top grading authorities and immediately labeled as a one-of-a-kind mint error. Because of the 1983 date, a year not widely known for collectible nickels, this particular coin took everyone by surprise. When it went to auction, bidding was intense. In the end, the final sale price broke records for a modern Jefferson nickel error, hitting $23,000. That's right, $23,000 for a coin with a face value of 5 cents, simply because of a rare, once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake. But as incredible as that is, it doesn't stop there. Now we turn our attention to one of the most stunning U.S. quarter errors ever discovered, a coin that combined mystery, rarity, and a near-perfect strike. The coin in question? A $quarter featuring a rare script error, along with multiple minting anomalies that made it unlike anything else in circulation. This quarter looked normal from a distance. But on closer inspection, the lettering, especially the words United States of America and E pluribus unum, was visibly flawed. Parts of the script appeared distorted. Some of the letters were doubled or partially struck, and in some places, the inscriptions looked like they were melting into the coin. This type of error, known as a script or text distortion error, is extremely rare. It's usually caused by a misaligned die or debris caught during striking, leading to warped or partially missing text on the coin. But that wasn't all. This particular quarter was also struck on the wrong planchet, possibly one intended for a foreign coin or even a different U.S. denomination. The coin had a slightly different hue, a lighter feel, and a non-standard edge. These layered errors made it a numismatic rarity, and once discovered, it was quickly sent in for grading. It came back not only authenticated, but given a near-mint grade due to its sharp detail and preservation. The result? One of the most expensive U.S. quarters ever sold at auction. After fierce competition among high-end collectors, this one-of-a-kind script error quarter sold for $57,000, a life-changing amount of money for something most people wouldn't even notice in their pocket. Together, the 1983 Jefferson nickel and the rare $57,000 quarter show just how fascinating the world of coins can be. These aren't ancient relics or precious metal medallions. These are everyday coins, created by mistake, missed by the mint, and released into the world where they eventually became legends to SO the next time you get change back at the gas station or find a coin in your couch cushions. Take a closer look. Check the date, inspect the lettering, feel the weight. Because you never know, one of those coins might not be worth 5 cents or 25 cents. It might be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 4. We're diving into two of the most astonishing finds in U.S. coin history. A 1990 Jefferson nickel that became one of the most valuable 5-cent coins ever discovered, and a U.S. quarter with a rare script error that sold for an eye-popping $53,000. These coins prove that even the most common denominations can hide once-in-a-lifetime mistakes that transform them into legendary collectibles. Let's begin with the 1990 Jefferson nickel. On the surface, this coin looks just like every other 5-cent piece from the late 20th century. It features Thomas Jefferson's profile on the front, Monticello on the back, and a familiar copper-nickel composition. Millions were minted, and most are still in circulation today. But one rare version of the 1990 Jefferson nickel turned out to be anything but ordinary. It wasn't just valuable, it was historic. This particular nickel featured a dramatic minting error that instantly caught the attention of expert collectors. Instead of being struck on a proper 5-cent planchet, this coin was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, the blank used for a 10-cent coin. The result was a nickel that was smaller, thinner, and lighter than usual. Because of the size mismatch, parts of the design were cut off or misaligned. The word Liberty was partially missing. The date was nearly off the edge, and Monticello on the reverse was barely visible. What made this coin even more valuable was its condition. It had never entered circulation, remaining in a near-pristine state since the moment it left the mint. The strike was crisp, the error was bold, and the coin was graded by top certification services as a high-grade mint error. With only one known example of this specific 1990 off-metal strike on a dime planchet, it quickly rose in fame within the numismatic world. When it went to auction, collectors fought to own it. The final sale price? $25,000. For a 5-cent coin that most people wouldn't have looked at twice, that it's a reminder that the most valuable coins aren't always gold or silver. Sometimes they're just mistakes, rare, incredible mistakes that survive against all odds and turn a simple nickel into a historic artifact. Now, let's talk about the second coin, a U.S. quarter that made waves when it sold for an incredible $53,000. What makes this quarter so special is a bizarre and extremely rare script error, one that altered the look of the coin in a way that's never been seen before. This particular quarter featured a noticeable text distortion in its inscriptions. The phrase, United States of America, was stretched and uneven. The words, "In God we trust," were faint and almost ghost-like, as if they were fading off the surface. And on top of that, the date appeared doubled and slightly tilted. Experts believe this was caused by a severe die misalignment combined with a grease-filled die, which affected the way the text was struck onto the coin. But the strangest part, the quarter was also struck on a planchet that didn't belong to it. It was struck on a foreign coin blank, creating a slightly off-color and undersized quarter that immediately raised eyebrows. This combination of a wrong planchet and a rare script distortion created a coin that was completely unique, the only known example of its kind. Collectors were stunned. The coin went through a full authentication process, was certified as a one-of-one mint error, and was assigned an extremely high grade thanks to its uncirculated condition. At auction, it drew massive attention from high-end collectors who knew they were bidding on something truly special. When the dust settled, the final bid was a staggering $53,000, all for a single quarter that looked just slightly off to the trained eye. These stories are more than just about money. They're about discovery. They're about the magic that happens when an ordinary object turns out to be extraordinary. The 1990 Jefferson Nickels struck on a dime planchet and the $53,000 quarter with a rare script error both prove that the world of coins is full of hidden wonders. Mistakes at the mint are rare. Coins that escape into circulation with these mistakes are even rarer. And coins that survive for decades before being discovered? That's numismatic gold. So if you've got some change sitting in a jar or coins passed down from a relative, don't overlook them. Examine the dates. Check the weight. Look at the lettering. Because buried in that pile could be the next great discovery. A 5-cent coin worth thousands or a quarter worth enough to change your life. Top 5. Where we uncover the secrets, stories, and shocking values behind the coins you see every day. Today's episode takes us deep into two unbelievable discoveries. A 1999 Jefferson nickel that became one of the most valuable 5-cent coins in U.S. history, and a rare quarter dollar with a strange script error that sold for an eye-opening $51,000. These aren't ancient gold coins or ultra-limited collector's editions. They're modern coins, minted for everyday use, but transformed into treasures by rare minting mistakes that slipped through unnoticed. Until now, let's begin with the Jefferson nickel from 1999, a year when billions of coins were struck across all U.S. denominations. To most people, the 1999 nickel is just another coin they might get back as change or find in their junk drawer. But in rare cases, the mint makes a mistake so dramatic that it creates a one-of-a-kind error. That's exactly what happened with this incredible coin, a 1999 Jefferson nickel struck on the wrong planchet, but with even more unusual features that make it one of the most valuable in the entire series. This particular nickel was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin, giving it an unusual weight, a slightly different metal composition, and a color that was distinctly off, more golden or brassy than the typical copper-nickel blend. As a result, the strike was imperfect, parts of the design were cut off, the rim was misaligned, and Jefferson's profile appeared shifted and partially missing. Even the reverse, featuring Monticello, was visibly affected, with distorted edges and incomplete inscriptions. But that wasn't all. This rare 1999 nickel also featured what experts call a broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the collar that shapes the edge. This gave the coin a wider diameter than usual, making it stand out immediately to anyone who looked closely. The combination of a wrong planchet and a broad strike made this an extremely rare double error, the kind that collectors dream of finding. Once discovered, it was authenticated, graded, and declared a true rarity. In the world of modern coin errors, this one was in a league of its own. When it went to auction, the bidding started high and climbed quickly. It eventually sold for an astonishing $28,000, making it one of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever known from the modern era. Now let's turn our attention to an even more dramatic story, a U.S. quarter with a script error so strange and so rare that it sold for an unbelievable $51,000. This quarter wasn't ancient. It wasn't gold or silver. It was just a normal-looking 25-cent coin until you really looked at it. The first thing that stood out was the lettering. The motto, E pluribus unum, on the reverse was visibly distorted, with the letters misshapen, stretched, and almost flowing into each other like melting wax. The word liberty on the obverse was partially doubled and tilted, and the date appeared to be shifting, as if it were struck twice. This wasn't just a case of a die starting to wear down. This was something bigger, the result of a serious die clash combined with a struck-through debris error, likely grease or metal shavings, that deformed the text across the coin. Experts call this kind of error a script distortion error, and it's one of the rarest and most eye-catching types in U.S. coinage. But there was more. This quarter was also discovered to have been struck on a defective planchet, slightly underweight, with surface irregularities that made it different from any other known specimen. In addition to the script error, this created a truly unique piece, a combination of text warping and physical imperfection that simply should not exist. It was sent in for grading, where it received a high mint state grade. Confirmation that the coin had never circulated, remaining crisp and clear despite the minting flaws. Once word got out, collectors and dealers immediately recognized it as a once-in-a-lifetime error. When it was finally offered at auction, the bidding was intense. In the end, the hammer dropped at a stunning $51,000, that's $51,000, for a coin with a face value of just 25 cents. A mistake turned into a masterpiece. An accident turned into an artifact. The 1999 Jefferson Nickel and the $51,000 script error quarter are more than just coins. They're proof that history is still being written, not only in ancient treasures, but in the spare change we carry every day. These coins started life like any other, mass-produced, meant to be spent, traded, forgotten. But because of one split-second error at the mint, they became something extraordinary. So next time you get change back from the grocery store, take a moment. Look at the date. Check the edges. Study the text. You might be holding more than just money. You might be holding a mistake so rare it's worth thousands, even tens of thousands, of dollars. Thanks for tuning in. If stories like these fascinate you, if you want to know how coins like these are found, and how to spot valuable errors in your own collection, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay connected. Because the next legendary coin might already be in your pocket.